A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a landmark move aimed at addressing the rampant pollution crisis in the UK, new legislation has come into effect allowing water company executives to face up to 2 years in prison for concealing illegal sewage spills. This significant shift in the law comes in response to alarming statistics revealing that England experienced over 3.6 million hours of sewage spills in the past year alone, a figure that has raised serious concerns among environmental advocates and the public alike. Environment Secretary Steve Reed emphasized the importance of accountability, stating, "Bosses must face consequences if they commit crimes. There must be accountability." The government hopes that the threat of prison time will compel executives to take their environmental responsibilities seriously and prioritize the cleanup of the nation's waterways. Previously, the maximum penalty for water company officials found guilty of obstruction was merely a fine, a leniency that has allowed many to evade justice. In fact, since privatization, only 3 individuals in the sector have ever been prosecuted for such crimes, and none faced any real penalties. The new guidelines are part of the Water Special Measures Act, which received royal assent earlier this year and aims to enforce stricter regulations on water companies. In addition to the sentencing changes, the legislation prohibits the payment of bonuses to executives who fail to meet environmental and consumer protection standards. This move is seen as a necessary step to ensure that financial incentives do not overshadow the company's obligations to protect the environment. Philip Duffy, chief executive of the Environment Agency, hailed the new law as a crucial measure to hold water companies accountable for their environmental impact. He stated, "The tougher powers we have gained through this legislation will allow us, as the regulator, to close the justice gap, deliver swifter enforcement action, and ultimately deter illegal activity." The urgency of these reforms is underscored by a report from the National Audit Office, NAO, that warns of a potential £52 billion cost to meet future water demands in the UK. The report predicts that by 2050, the country could face a daily shortfall of 5 billion litres of water, necessitating unprecedented investment to rectify the situation. Tim Farron, the Liberal Democrat environment spokesperson, called for radical reform in the sector, urging the government to replace the current water regulator, Ofwat, with a more robust entity capable of holding water companies accountable. He emphasized the need for a new regulatory framework that ensures customers are not left to bear the costs associated with regulatory failures. The NAO report also highlights a concerning trend of declining public trust in the water sector, which has reached record lows. As households brace for substantial bill hikes over the next 5 years, the public's confidence in the industry continues to erode. Environment Secretary Steve Reed criticized the previous government's approach, labeling it as toothless in addressing the pollution crisis. He expressed shock that no water executive has ever faced a prison sentence for their role in illegal sewage dumping, a situation he vowed to change. The new law is expected to serve as a deterrent for water companies, compelling them to prioritize compliance with environmental standards and take proactive measures to prevent pollution. However, the effectiveness of these reforms will depend on the commitment of regulators and the government to enforce the new guidelines and hold companies accountable for their actions. As the water industry faces mounting scrutiny, the public remains hopeful that these changes will lead to a cleaner and more sustainable future for the nation's rivers, lakes, and seas. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.